Recently, I watched a video by Terry Joel Jr., and in it, he made a point that resonated with me. After getting through a negative situation, on the other side awaits some form of blessing. Now, I'm not a big religious person, but his words have applied over the course of my life, and likely for many of you as well. This especially being the case when people are targeting you with malicious intent, despite the fact that you haven't intentionally done anything to them. Of course, we're talking about people higher in the dark triad narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, who may also be sadistic. You can call it karma, the universe balancing itself out, or even a guardian angel, but it does appear that something is at play. For instance, I was walking to a grocery store after work earlier today, and at the crosswalk, a car rushed past. As soon as this happened, the sirens of an ambulance went off and made the vehicle have to stop anyway. Another situation that comes to mind is my last employment situation, where my coworkers would behave in a rather narcissistic as well as psychopathic manner, with me, the only man, being the target, likely in part because they were aware of my YouTube channel. You may recall the letter I read in a previous video regarding the pathological behavior there. The interesting part about the situation was that these were three individuals, each with their own problems, and the more they targeted me, the more negativity they faced in their own lives, such as deteriorating health and worse. I just stuck to doing my job. Of course, it would be unreasonable to imply here that the reason this occurred was because of their behavior. These people were already on the path to such states I was actually willing to provide information on ways to potentially reverse. But as is the case with narcissists, by expressing knowledge that makes them feel inadequate, they don't take kindly to it. More specifically, being met with anger or smirking and negative feedback. When their attempts to get a reaction out of me failed, this resulted in an increase in their behaviors and my moving, as well as finding a new job with a significant pay increase. A commute that is only a 15-minute walk as opposed to the prior hour and a half each way, and a boss that appears to be aware of narcissistic behavior. To some extent, experiencing such situations can actually be a fortunate thing. Through observing my coworkers at the time, it actually sparked many ideas and ended up playing a significant role in my writing Manipulation 201. Some people view it as the world purposely throwing these people at you. Regardless of whether this is true or not, there are lessons to be learned. Most recently, I cut contact with another content creator as they had essentially latched onto me and started making content regurgitating points I had made in videos while acting as though they were his own. I won't give a specific name because it's obvious enough that I don't have to. Look at the channel of someone I did an interview with, and it becomes rather apparent. This isn't the first time this has happened, and likely won't be the last. Now, some people will assert that you shouldn't just cut contact with people, and instead assert boundaries with them. I'll explain why I rarely do this. In many, perhaps even most cases, the individual engaging in some form of manipulative behavior is well aware of what they're doing. Now, sure, you can be direct and state that you don't agree with what they're doing. However, they knew what they were doing all along and did it because they found some benefit in engaging as such. This tendency in particular I've talked about in Manipulation 201. The individual may resort to spam messaging you, trying to get back on track with their exploitative, self-serving acts. This takes the form of attempting to get you to pinpoint what they were doing so that they can provide a plausibly deniable explanation in the hopes you buy it. As explained further in a previous video, this is commonly found in those with dissocial personality disorder. There are those sadistic individuals as well who, upon obtaining information on what behaviors you don't agree with, keep this in mind as a way to behave in the future. As I've said before, as well as brought up in the book, trust your gut instinct when it comes to sensing someone manipulating you. Additionally, as I stated in the Regurgitating Voices of Reason video, in environments such as these, this environment being YouTube, everyone wants to be the voice of reason, and they'll rationalize whatever it takes to get there. This is for myriad reasons, including the perception that such a path can be lucrative. And it is furthermore worth noting that when nuanced perspectives from research are regurgitated by multiple sources over time, you end up with a telephone game or copy effect. Essentially, the more the data gets passed around and thus further removed from the original source, the more watered down it gets until it is unrecognizable from the original source, and hence why keeping in line with the words of the original author is necessary. This, of course, is impossible when those regurgitating the information aren't actually reading the research. Normally, I wouldn't make something like this public, but I do think there are lessons to be learned from these situations. Leave a comment if you've noticed things in your life work themselves out or got through a bad situation only to find it got you to a significantly better place in life. As for myself, I can't say if there's something watching over me, but I can say that I've been fortunate enough to have such a positive progression over time in life.